Hello my dear students, welcome back to another exciting biology class on our channel. Today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating processes in the life of a flowering plant, that is pollination and fertilization. Have you ever been curious about how flowers turn into fruits and seeds, and how does the pollen from one flower reach another, and what really happens inside the ovary of a flower after that? Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will have a clear concept or clear picture of how life begins in plants naturally and beautifully. Now we explore today what is pollination. Pollination is the process of transferring pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. Anthers are the male part which produce pollen, and pollen grains contain nuclei needed for reproduction. Pollination is the process of transference of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Types of pollination based on pollen source. This is a diagrammatic representation of types of pollination: self and cross pollination. Basically, self pollination is of two types: autogamy and geitonogamy, and cross pollination is also called as allogamy. Autogamy means self pollination within the same flower. It is shown in the diagram as pollen falling within a single flower, that is autogamy, a kind of self pollination. And geitonogamy, it is also another kind of self pollination which occurs between different flowers on the same plant. But allogamy is the cross pollination between flowers of different plants of the same species. Nature's role in pollination. Cross pollination happens naturally. Wind blowing pollen between plants in nearby fields or orchards. Insects visiting multiple plants of the same species. Plants in close proximity like mango, mustard, wheat, jamun, guava can cross pollinate due to wind or animal agents. Kinds of pollination. There are two major kinds of pollination: self pollination and cross pollination. Self pollination is the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, or autogamy, or to the stigma of another flower on the same plant, geitonogamy. Though the flowers are different, if they belong to the same plant, it still counts as self pollination due to the genetic similarity. Example: pansy. Some flowers like pansy do not open. The condition is called as cleistogamy or cleistogamous condition, and are pollinated internally. This ensures self pollination without outside agents. Now, what can self pollination occur? In bisexual flowers having both male and female organs, in unisexual flowers, if both male and female flowers are on the same plant and mature at the same time, self pollination needs synchronization of maturity between anther and stigma. This is the diagram showing self pollination. So we should know the advantages of self pollination. Surety happens easily in bisexual flower. Preservation of traits, parental characters remain unchanged. There is no wastage of pollen, which requires fewer pollen grains. Small flowers are enough, no need for showy petals or scent. Less nectar and resources are needed, no need to attract pollinators. Disadvantages of self pollination: weakening of the variety over generations. Defective traits persist, no elimination of bad genes. No new varieties, no genetic diversity or scope for improvement. Now we'll study cross pollination. Cross pollination is the transfer of pollen from the anther of one plant to the stigma of a flower on another plant of the same species. Advantages of cross pollination: healthier offspring, better genetic quality, more viable seeds, stronger and more productive. New varieties. Cross pollination, pollinating different strains, can result in better traits. Disadvantages of cross pollination: not always certain. It depends on external pollinators like insects, which may not be always available. Pollen wastage: the more pollen must be produced to ensure success. Uneconomical: flowers need to be large, scented and nectar rich to attract pollinators, using more plant resources. Nature favors cross pollination. Although self pollination has benefits, most plants prefer cross pollination due to advantages of genetic diversity and adaptability. Insects like bees and butterflies help unintentionally by carrying pollen from flower to flower. This is the image showing cross pollination. and there is the down image showing the difference between comparison between self pollination and cross pollination. Additional key points: only pollen of the same species can fertilize effectively. If pollen from other species lands on a stigma, it usually fails to germinate or fertilize. There is the differences between self pollination and cross pollination. You can go through the differences. Now let's study conditions that favor cross-pollination. Unisexuality. Males and female flowers are on different plants. Example, papaya, palm, etc. It ensures only cross-pollination. Male and female parts mature at different times. Protandry. Anther matures before stigma. Protogyny is the stigma matures before anther. Example, custard apple. And the example of protandry is the windy pea, etc. Because dichogamy prevents self-pollination. Now let's study self-sterility. It is another condition. Even if pollen from the same flower reaches the stigma, fertilization does not occur. Pollen from another plant is needed. Example, sunflower, orchids, etc. Harcogamy, mechanical barrier prevents contact between anther and stigma of the same flower. Example, pansy, that is hooded stigma. Heterostele. Stigma and anthers are at different heights in the same species. Example, primrose, oxalis. They prevent self-pollination mechanically. Agents of cross-pollination. There are two main agents. The pollination are of two types: autogamy or self-pollination, and xenogamy or allogamy and cross-pollination. Abiotic agents, cross-pollination have two types of agents. Abiotic agents include anemophily, that is by wind, and hydrophily by water. And biotic agents include insects, that is called as entomophily, or cantherophily, that is by beetle, phalaenophily, that is by moth, melitophily, that is by bees, psychophily by butterflies, malacophily by snails, ornithophily by birds, chiropterophily by bats, and myrmecophily by ants. These are different kinds of pollinators or pollinating agents. Characteristics of insect pollinated flowers. They are large and showy to attract insects. Bright colored petals present scent. Nectar production is to reward insects. Sticky or spiny pollen attaches to insect bodies. Flowers are often positioned for easy access. Wind pollinated flowers are anemophilous. Wind pollinated flowers such as those of maize exhibit the following features: small flowers, dull or greenish coloration, not attractive to pollinators, no scent or nectar, long stamens that hang outside for pollen dispersal, large loosely attached anthers easily shaken by wind, large amounts of pollen, light, dry and smooth pollen grains carried easily by wind, feathery stigmas that also hang out, trap airborne pollen. Example, maize. This is the image showing the wind pollinated flowers or anemophilous, and the upper image showing the insect pollinated flower, that is the bright colored sunflower. Water pollinated flowers are hydrophilous. Example, Vallisneria. It is found in aquatic plants. These flowers show adaptations like large number of pollen grains are produced. Some pollen grains have specific gravity close to water and float. Floating male flowers drift on the water surface to reach female flowers. Other pollinating agents like bird ornithophily. It is found in begonia, canna, etc. Elephants elophophily. It is rare, found in Rafflesia, where pollen is carried by elephant feet accidentally. Now let's study artificial pollination, where pollination manually carried out by humans. Here practiced even in ancient times. Babylonia used to sprinkle male flowers of palms on females. It is used for hybrid production and crop improvement, also known as artificial crossing in modern agriculture and horticulture. This is the image showing differences between wind pollinated flowers or anemophily and insect pollinated flowers or entomophily. Some examples of pollination: insect pollinated sweet peas. Insects like bees land on the conspicuous corolla of the sweet pea flower. Bees insert their tongue to collect nectar. In the process, the wing petals and keel petal are pushed down. This exposes the stamens and stigma, and pollen is transferred from or onto the insect's body. If the bees has visited other flowers, it may carry pollen from a previous flower, resulting in cross-pollination. Wind pollinated maize. Maize pollination is carried out by wind. The male flowers in the tassel produce pollen that hangs loosely. When wind blows, the pollen is taken off easily and dispersed. Feathery stigmas on the female inflorescence cob trap the pollen. Male flowers mature earlier than female ones, and reducing the chance of self-pollination. Fertilization. It is the union or fusion of the nuclei of male and female gametes. In flowering plants, the pollen grain is the male gamete. The ovule inside the ovary is the female gamete. The pollen grain, it's a mature pollen grain, has double wall, outer exine and inner intine. There is two nuclei. Tube nucleus controls the pollen tube growth. Generative nucleus divides into two sperm cells. After falling on a compatible stigma, it forms a pollen tube to reach the ovule. The ovule is the structure that becomes the seed after fertilization. It has protective layers like integuments, a small opening micropyle, nucellus, and embryo sac within. Embryo sac basically contains egg cell, two synergids, the image showing there is two synergid, egg cell, three antipodal cells, these are the antipodal cells, and two polar nuclei in the central cell. Double fertilization, which is unique to angiosperms. Here there is two rounds of fertilization. First fertilization occurs when one sperm nucleus fuses with the egg cell, forms zygote and ultimately embryo. Second fertilization occurs between the sperm nucleus with the two polar nuclei from triploid endosperm nucleus. This is called as triple fusion. Double fertilization is the one pollen grain to two fertilization events. This is the image showing double fertilization. Summary: the pollen grain carries male gametes, the ovule houses the female gamete. In angiosperms, fertilization involves two separate fusion. Egg plus sperm will form the zygote, and two polar nuclei will meet the sperm to form the endosperm, which is used as the food for embryo. This process is termed as double fertilization, unique to flowering plants or angiosperms. Now we study germination of pollen grain. Pollen germinates only if it falls on the stigma of the same plant species, otherwise it will disintegrate. Stimulated by sugar secretions of the stigma, a pollen tube emerges through the exine and carries the generative nucleus and tube nucleus. The generative nucleus divides into two sperm nuclei or male gametes. Now the pollen grain contains three nuclei, two sperm nuclei and one tube nucleus which guides the pollen tube. Role of pollen tube: it grows through the style and reaches the ovary, enters through the micropyle and reaches the embryo sac. The tube nucleus disintegrates after guiding this tube. Double fertilization: once the pollen tube reaches the embryo sac, one sperm nucleus fuses with the egg cell nucleus, it forms the zygote or future embryo, and other sperm nucleus fuses with two polar nuclei in the central cell, forms the triploid endosperm nucleus. This is called double fertilization, a unique feature of angiosperm. What is the fate of floral parts after fertilization? This is the image showing different floral parts and their fate after fertilization. So dear students, today we learned how pollination helps in transferring pollen from anther to stigma and how fertilization leads to the formation of fruits and seeds. It's truly amazing how plants reproduce in such a smart and natural way, is not it? Remember, pollination can be done by wind, water, insects or even birds, and fertilization is the hidden magic that happens deep inside the flower. Thank you so much for watching this video. If this video helped you understand the topic better, don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Keep learning, stay curious, and I will see you in the next class with more exciting concepts from biology. Take care.